Yo, what is going on guys, Star Wars Verse here and welcome back to another video on Star Wars Clone Wars Season 7, and this will be my breakdown for part 3 of the Siege of Mandalore story arc, otherwise titled Shattered, which is also the episode where Order 66 will be taking place, which isn't really a surprise, so it's not really a spoiler, and it is also the penultimate episode for this season. Before I do the breakdown, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Star Wars content coming your way. And spoiler alert, in case you haven't caught up with the Clone Wars, you have been warned. So obviously the Battle of Mandalore is over, and this episode starts with the Clone Wars collecting Maul's loyal Mandalorians and they're taking them as prisoners. And we head to Bo-Katan and she just, looks at them while they're being escorted to the ship. But we then had Ahsoka land with the clones from a ship, and we see that Maul is held captive. Now Ahsoka and Bo-Katan then start talking about how Ahsoka had learned from the best, which is why she was able to capture Maul. And Ahsoka also mentions that Mandalore now needs a new leader, a leader like Bo. But then Rex comes in and tells Ahsoka that the council wants Ahsoka, so she heads to meet up with the Jedi Masters. Now one cool thing we had that scene where Mace says, "I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi." Now this was also in Revenge of the Sith, but this version is recreated so they could fit Ahsoka into it, which was really cool. But Mace mentions that the dark side of the Force has surrounded the Chancellor. But the Jedis are now plotting to remove Palpatine from the Senate, and the Jedi Council must take over to ensure that the transitions are as smooth as possible. And Yoda mentions that this will lead the Jedi to a dark place, and that they need to be very careful with what they're going to do. We then had Ahsoka and Rex enter, and Ahsoka talks to the Jedi Masters through a hologram. Ahsoka mentions that her mission was a success and that she has Maul in custody. Ahsoka mentions that Rex will escort Maul to Coruscant, and Yoda thanks Ahsoka for the service that Ahsoka has done, but then she mentions that she has done her duty as a citizen, not a Jedi. And she then asks for Anakin, but Mace mentions that he sent Anakin to tell the Chancellor that General Grievous has been located in Utapau, meaning Order 66 is pretty soon. And it's just sad seeing that Ahsoka won't ever see Anakin again until he becomes Darth Vader, and she encounters him many years after, but as a Sith. Obi-Wan is also unavailable as he needs to fight General Grievous. So this means to Ahsoka that the Clone Wars could be over pretty soon. But then Mace says that this is up to the Chancellor, and Ahsoka doesn't, understand what Mace says, so she questions it. But Mace says, "I'm sorry, citizen, this is for the council to discuss," which I thought was pretty funny. But Yoda feels like Ahsoka still has more to say, and perhaps to Anakin, but Ahsoka says that she doesn't have anything to say. Now, Ahsoka didn't tell the Jedi Masters about what Maul said about Anakin and his prophecy that he's the one to destroy the Republic, so perhaps if Ahsoka told them, Anakin may not have turned to the dark side. That could be a possibility, but we don't know. We then head back to Mandalore and we see Maul, and he's being escorted to the ship, and Rex and Ahsoka then are on their way to take him to Coruscant. But we then had Bo and Ahsoka say goodbye as Ahsoka has finished her mission and will head back to Coruscant. But we then have them get out of Mandalore and they head to the Republic cruiser. And we do see Maul's yellow Sith eyes just filled with anger, and we could predict that he would have a trick up his sleeve. But one thing is he's cuffed, it's impossible for him to get out, and that prison also stops Force users from escaping as well. So I was just interested to see how Maul would escape. Maul is then taken to a prison cell in the ship where a different set of clones take him, and we have Ahsoka and Rex enter like the main hall as they take a glance upon the galaxy as it reaches hyperdrive. But Rex notices that there is something on Ahsoka's mind, and Ahsoka says that the Jedis were trained to keep peace, not become soldiers, but all Ahsoka has been since she was trained as a Padawan was a soldier. But Rex mentions that the clones, on the other hand, had no choice. Without the war, they wouldn't even exist. And according to Ahsoka, there has some good that has happened from the war. And Ahsoka mentions that the Republic couldn't ask for a better soldiers, and Ahsoka couldn't ask for a better friend, showing how close Ahsoka and Rex are and how their friendship has progressed throughout the Clone Wars. But Rex gets another breach, so he heads out. We then head back to Maul in his prison, and he senses that Order 66 has happened, as he and Ahsoka hear Palpatine fight the Jedi, who was a Kit Fisto and Mace Windu, and I can't remember the other two. We also hear Anakin slice off Mace Windu's hand as he says, "What have I done?" It was just awesome, like seeing like all of this going around Ahsoka's head. But Ahsoka senses that something terrible has happened to Anakin. But then we had the long-awaited Order 66 being executed. So now the clones have turned on Ahsoka. And I was wondering how Rex still hasn't removed the chip from his head, because now this means that he's like a bad guy, just like the other clones. And we do have Rex like shaking badly as he's hesitant to kill his friend, but he must. And we do have Rex in tears as he says like find him or something. It was hard to tell what he was saying, but I think it was find him. And then he shoots, which is very, very unexpected. But then we had Ahsoka just ignite her lightsabers as she blocks all the blasts from the clones, and it was just an awesome moment. But then Ahsoka has disappeared, and Rex notices that Ahsoka has escaped by cutting a hole from the ceiling. We then have Rex tell his soldiers that the Jedi and Republic must be executed for treason, and all, like everything associated with the Republic should be executed. Now this was very unexpected, as I thought Rex would have removed his inhibitor chip, but he didn't, and like he does actually stay evil for like the majority of this episode, which I didn't expect at all. But we then head back to Maul in his prison, and we have the clones about to execute him. So as soon as Maul is about to be, executed, Ahsoka rescues Maul, and then they team up, which was just awesome. And Ahsoka is feeling that it was Maul's doing, so like she threatens Maul. She's like, "Is this your doing?" But Maul notices that this was his master's plan, and actually his plan was to turn the clones against their own people, so turn them against the Jedi. But Ahsoka asks Maul to, cause some chaos as a diversion, but we then had Rex and the 501st searching for Ahsoka and any other people in the Republic. Ahsoka then heads to the droid area as she needs help from one of the droids, and they're all willing to help, as they notice the clones have turned as well, and they don't know why. And Ahsoka asks the droids to check up about the manufacturing of the clones, but then we had R7, who was the droid checking the data and stuff, and we had that lady from Kamino talking about the inhibitor chips. But one of the things that Ahsoka needed accessing from was sealed, and she tells R7 to use Anakin's password, and it's this recording of Rex talking about the inhibitor chip and how it may have a purpose for it, but they don't fully understand what it's for. We then head to Maul just fully destroying the clones using the Force and stuff. It was just so cool. And then he takes pieces of the ship and uses it as a shield. It just gave me goosebumps. And then one sick thing was when they tried to seal the doors and Maul uses the Force, and then it ends up chopping one of the clones' arms off. But we then had R7 purposely bump into Rex and then seals the doors so that Ahsoka, does her plan. But Ahsoka then comes up as a hologram mentioning what happened to the clones, and then Rex threatens the droid. He's like, "Where is she?" and then we find out that Ahsoka is behind Rex, and this was as a distraction, so the droids knock Rex out. But by the help of the droids, Rex is then escorted to the medical bay, and then Ahsoka places Rex on one of those medical beds as the droid runs a scan to find the inhibitor chip. However, the chip is nowhere to be seen, so Ahsoka keeps telling the droids to keep running a scan just in case it's an anomalous or something. And we had the clones trying to enter the med bay as well, and Ahsoka tells the droids to reseal the doors if they were to enter. But one really unexpected thing, and just a cool thing in general, was the Rogue One line when Ahsoka uses the Force to find the inhibitor chip from Rex's head, and she does the "I'm one with the Force is with me." It was cool, and Rex started repeating after her as well, which was just great. But the clones then enter Ahsoka, and then the clones then enter the medbay, and then Ahsoka tries to hold them off, and Rex gets his chip removed. And Ahsoka does actually get shot with one of them as well, so it's hard for her to hold off all of them. But then Rex wakes up and he shoots the door and seals it. And Ahsoka finds out about Order 66, and it is so every clone haunts to kill the Jedis. But then this episode ends with the door being broken down with some lasers. Now Rex and Ahsoka will have to escape through all of that, which will be a trouble. But next week is the last episode, sadly, for the Clone Wars, as well as these past 3 episodes have been sick, and I just cannot wait for the next one, and I can't wait to see what is yet to come. Overall, this episode was so good, but it wasn't better than the other 2 episodes, but it was still very great, so I'll give it a 9 out of 10. And yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.